Hi, I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is Salty Caramel Pumpkin Spice from Tea Runners. Not a paid promotion, I just like their teas. And I know you're thinking, whoa, what did you just say? Yeah, we get the Tea Runners subscription box. And when this one first turned up in the subscription box sometime back, nice black tea, I saw it and I thought, well, I'm game. I'll try anything, fine. But I really didn't think that this was going to be good. And then I had a sip of it and I'm like, oh, wow, this is wonderful. I must drink this every fall for the rest of my life. That kind of good. I wouldn't say that it's actually salty. It's just got a hint of something that makes you like imaginary salt. It kind of makes you think of salt without actually being salty. And the caramel pumpkin thing is kind of there, but it's also tea, and it really works well together. Next week, we're going to be starting playing some fall games and spooky season games, so you're probably going to be hearing about this tea more. I've got cards stuck to me. And onward. Welcome to everyone, especially new subscribers. I had a wonderful first anniversary of the channel last week. Thank you all so much for your likes and your comments and your subscribes. And at the time I filmed it, which was the day before the anniversary, we only had 97 subscribers. But it's 101 now, and 100 was like kind of my goal for the 1 year anniversary, and I hit 100 on the morning of the actual date that was the first video on this channel. So that was just a really, really nice thing. That was kind of neat. I really appreciate it. That was fun. And I just really enjoyed chatting with everybody in the comments, and I'm just really happy that my videos are making you happy. But yeah, if you have not yet poured yourself a beverage, you should do so, because this video is going to be packed with games, lots of games and game expansions and cool stuff that we've never played before, that we played for the first time with mixed results, depending upon the game. Anyhow, I had mentioned way back, because this has got a lot of games, because I did an unplayed games video, and then I did the anniversary video, and then we had last weekend. So this is basically 3 weekends of what we played. But way before all of that, I mentioned that I was going to get the herbaceous flavor pack. Is that in focus? God, my eyes are so bad, I can't tell if it's in focus. The herbaceous, it's a mini expansion. You can get it off the website. It's literally 3 cards. The cover card, which also tells you basically how to set up visually. And then there's the how to set up and how to play card. And then there are the 3 cards. We have star anise, cinnamon, and peppercorn. These are not played like the regular cards in herbaceous, and they are not going to change gameplay very much. And I don't know that these things are really super worth it for the cost of the cards plus shipping. But if you're like me and you're a sucker for promo cards and you just want like a little cool extra thingy, yeah, maybe so, because these do not work like a regular card. It's not like you're throwing in a new card in here. What you do is you, after you've removed a certain number of cards, depending upon player count, you divide the deck in half, and you randomly shuffle these cards, and then you pull out 2 of them. This one goes back into the box, and then these 2 cards are the cards you play at. You don't look at them. You divide the deck in half, and you slip these into what will be the bottom half of the deck. And it says don't put them as the first card or the last card, and don't put them right next to each other. So you slip them into the bottom half, and then you put like the other part of the deck on top of it. And when these cards are drawn in the game, it applies to all players. So it's not one of these kind of things like, oh, they get the special cards every time and I don't get them. No, that's not going to happen, because when somebody draws a special card, the effect is a universal effect. Everyone at the table does the thing. And so let's look at the things that you can do. And I should say, we have played this game with every possible combination of 2 cards, and these are not the kind of cards that combo. So if you're looking for like things that are going to be combo-tastic, to like do something like amazing in your game because of the powerful combination of cards, it's not going to be that. But it is going to be kind of nifty. Nifty, that's what these cards are. Let's look at cinnamon first. Exchange 1 herb from your private garden with 1 in the community garden. So the player who draws this card does this action first, and then all the other players around the table in whatever, I guess it's clockwise order, then will do the same thing. They will exchange an herb. Now, the private garden, that's not the ones you potted up. That's the ones that you're like holding kind of like here to be potted up. So you exchange 1 of those with 1 from the community garden. And that's kind of nifty, because if your balance of stuff has kind of gotten off, like you ended up keeping 1 that you're really not going to be able to use, but you're collecting these others, so you could like swap that one off for 1 in the community garden. Star anise. This is an interesting one, and there have been games I've played where this could have really come in handy. But here's the thing, because you don't know which 2 cards are in the deck, you can't plan on being able to get like a nifty superpower in the second half of the game. This one is star anise. It is put 1 regular herb, not the special herbs, from your private garden into any container following the normal restrictions, and it does not count as potting. So let's say you potted up herbs and like you potted them up, but you were 1 short of having like a complete set of all the same kind or all different or something like that. You hit this card, it would allow you to stick another one in there. Or you could put this card in there and it could be like the first card you put into a pot. And so it's not going to break your potting rules. You would still have to put things into pots according to the rules, but it will allow you to put something into a pot outside of your first step potting thing. And that's kind of nifty. And then peppercorn. Peppercorn is the one that messes with other players. Take 1 herb from the private garden of the player on your left. After all have taken a card, add them to your private gardens. So the person who draws this card, they're going to take a card from the layout that hasn't been potted from the player on their left. And I mean, remember, this is second half of the game action, so it could be that they're not going to have huge sets of this because they're probably going to have already potted something by then, you know. And then that person does it to the person on their left, and that person does it to the person on their left, and so on until like the person that would have been on the person who drew the cards right comes around and takes 1 of their cards. And you add them to their private garden. So, I mean, that is also a nifty way to get something that you need that you might not have gotten under regular circumstances. These are just a little something extra. And like I said, the player who draws the card, they do the action first. Then around the table, all other players do the action, like putting the herb, swapping the herbs with community gardens, or putting an herb into a container, that kind of thing. It's just a little something extra that you can add to Herbaceous. We do like this game an awful lot. The flavor pack is just a little bit of extra fun put in there. It does not have a huge impact on gameplay. And it's kind of a nifty surprise in there because you don't know which 2 cards have been put in there. You just maybe know that you have shuffled in a couple of extra cards. So we played Herbaceous, and then that same weekend, which was now a couple of weeks ago, we played Reykholt for the first time. This game is by Uwe Rosenberg, and he's a designer that we really like. The theme of this game, and it is a lovely game, the theme of this game is growing vegetables using like geothermic heat in greenhouses in Iceland. How's that for a highly specific theme? But yeah, I gotta move my tea out of the way because I'm afraid I'm gonna knock it over. I've got to show you this because it is so pretty. The artwork on the cover gives you an idea of prettiness, but it also has some nifty stuff in the box. First of all, you've got nice wooden components and a few cardboard components which will give you multiples, like say 3 of the lettuces. I like little lettuce components, and tomatoes, tomato, and they're actually bagged in little cardboard tomato things, see? And you put these together. These are punch out and put together. So it comes with its own bit boxes, which are very aesthetically pleasing and marked with the type of things that they are. You have lettuce, tomatoes, mushrooms, cauliflower, carrots. Carrots are kind of rare in the game, something to keep in mind. And you have this kind of little storybook thing that you turn over to turn over the rounds. It's a round counter. You flip from one to the other to turn over rounds. Where are the rest of them? Ah, here they are. See? You can see, and it's got little original artwork, and it would be like this, and you turn it over, and then it would tell you that you're on round 4 and round 3. But this has another purpose too, and that is that this allows you to adjust player count. We played at 2 players, so we played on the 2-player side of the board. This is the solo deck, solo mode, for those of you that are deeply into solo. Oh, I got an empty baggie. Oh, I guess I should have put those into the empty baggie. I will do that after the video. But this is the board. Yeah, I put it in the bottom of the box, so I had to dig for it. The board is double-sided. This is the side for 1 or 2 players. This is a worker placement resource management game, and this is where you place your workers. This is 1 and 2 players. And the storybook goes like off to the side where you turn the pages and it shows you the round. Now, the other side of the board, where are we? Here we go. This is the other side of the board, and this is for 3 and 4 players. See, big, long board with lots of action spots. So your choice of action is going to vary depending upon your player count. I saw the playthrough of this with Monique and Naveen, and they mentioned that when they played it at 2-player, because they had also played it at like 3 or 4, that there were things that they kept looking for in the action spots that weren't available at 2-player. But what you do to change it for 3 and 4 is, because the round counter is up here, see? So that you can turn over the little thingies to say what round it is. That's built in on the board for 3 and 4 player, and you put, for 3 player, you put this up here and take out the top action area. And this is, see, the flip side of that. So that way, if you play with 3 players, you've got this. And this strikes me as being, I'm looking at the screen instead of the camera, sorry about that, because I'm looking at the board here. This strikes me as being significantly more than the 2-player game here. But you take out 1 row for 3 players, and then for 4 players, you use the whole board. But this game is, I got this game for at half-price books for half price. Actually, it may have been a little less than half price is what I'm remembering. And that big, because it was the sale week, that sale that they had between Christmas and New Year's last year, in which we got some stuff. Oh yeah, and here are the tokens for your workers. and your worker tokens. There's like, everybody gets 3 tokens, and these are your little wine bottle color thingies that you move around the tables whenever you're selling off your produce. But there are actually 4 workers, but there are 3 tokens. So the different colors have different combinations of workers. So you can basically kind of choose by color, or you can choose by like who's the combination of workers that you have there, which I just kind of thought it was neat that the faces were kind of changed up. Worker placement, resource management. So I'm standing there in the store looking at this game. It looks beautiful. It has the magic words on it, Uwe Rosenberg. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about this game. I mean, it's not like I'm an expert. I never said I was an expert. I'm just your average weekend gamer. I love playing games. I'm sometimes good at it and sometimes really bad at it. But the important thing is that I'm having a lot of fun. And that's what I'm in it for, is the fun. So I'm like Googling like mad, and I come across a bunch of posts about the game, and basically people are complaining about the game and saying that it's not very good because it's easy. And I'm going like, oh, okay, that's fine. I mean, an Uwe Rosenberg game, I know it's going to be a good design, that is like a farming game that's easy. I mean, I'm fine with that. Because it's not like I've got to have some brain-breaking Euro to sit down at the table with every weekend. I mean, as long as it's fun and it's beautiful, and I thought, what the heck? I'll get it. So, it is really easy. I mean, the resource management is tricky, but it's very easy to learn. I would not say that this game is a beginner game or a welcoming game. Like, you could take somebody who was a non-board gamer, and if you drop this down in front of them, they would probably be kind of miffed at you, because the resource management in this game, for somebody who has never played a modern board game, could be really frustrating. Yeah, because, I mean, especially if you play it at 2 players where, you know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You've got a dozen action spots compared to like 3 and 4 where you've got a lot. But remember, other workers are going to be taking those action slots. And this is not one of those games where you can share a spot. But if, say, you were trying to ease somebody into tricky resource management and worker placement, this would be a good next step game. Not a heavy Euro game, but at the same time, there's a lot of games that have worker placement and resource management, but they're really complex. They've got like a lot of moving parts. There's like a whole bunch of rules that you've got to learn. If this, then this, but you can't do this, if that, and if somebody else does that, then you've got to do that. And you have this separate board over here that you put these things on, and then you've got to manage these resources that way, but then it messes with those resources over there because you've got to use the market, and you know what I mean? There's a level of complexity with a certain amount of the heavier resource management worker placement games, so that somebody that might want to play those games and think that it looks neat or are attracted to the theme or something like that would sit down with the rule book and struggle perhaps a bit if they weren't familiar with those kind of mechanisms, or if the game's weight was just way more than what they were expecting. This game's weight is not going to be more than what anybody expects unless you are a rank beginner. What it comes down to is we could play it. That means that you could probably play it. Now, mind you, that first game, we were going like, oh, wow. It's like, it's like, how do I get the mushrooms? And it's like, and I am out of carrots again. You know, so it's like, what you do is you place your workers, your 3 workers on these things, and you have greenhouse cards. Oops, that's solo. You have greenhouse cards, and you also have some special cards that you can get as one of your worker placement actions. But you get greenhouses. Let's see if I can find my blankety blank greenhouses. Are the greenhouses? No, the greenhouse cards are here. No, it's like, no, the other bag. So you place your vegetables in greenhouses and you can grow them in the greenhouses and seed them. See, these are greenhouses. This is your basic random greenhouse. That's the back side of the card. Some of these greenhouses will be available at specific player counts, so you'll want to pull those out. First player marker is a shovel. So let's look at, oh yes, and these are your player order things. Basically, you place 3 workers. I place a worker. Everybody else places a worker. I place a worker. Everybody else places a worker. I place a worker. Everybody else places a worker 3 times. And you do the thing when you place the worker. And then you harvest. And then you have what the game calls tourism time. Think about it as, say, a farmer's market. Apparently, a lot of tourists go to Reykholt to see the greenhouse Icelandic vegetables or something. And what you do is, oh boy, let me show you greenhouses. This greenhouse here, you can only do tomatoes or lettuce in this greenhouse. This greenhouse here, there are a bunch of different vegetables you can grow in it. But whatever you choose, you can only grow that vegetable. You can't like mix them up a bunch. And here's got like, you can grow fewer you have fewer slots for vegetables, but you have a wider variety, including those all-important carrots. So when you get to the part in the order where it's called tourism time, so like I said, everybody places their workers 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and then you all harvest, which means you take one vegetable out of all of your greenhouses, and you can have a whole bunch of greenhouses if you want to, but getting greenhouses is a worker action. So, you can only harvest 1 out of each one. Although there are action spots and cards, I think, that lets you harvest another thing. And then tourism time here is when you score. So these areas around the board that you see here, they got veggies on them. They're actually tables. And they're always going to be in the same order. And that's something that's really helpful. So it's not like as you're like at the beginning of the game that you're going to have tomatoes, lettuce, mushroom, cauliflower, carrots, and then it like is some other order again. It will always be that order. So at the beginning of the game, in order to advance, you need 1 carrot, and then to get to this one, you need 1 lettuce, and to get to this one, you need 1 mushroom, etc., etc., etc. But then when you get up here, you need 2. Now, there is a bonus action that you must take every round, and that's really nice. The bonus action means that you can go to a table, and instead of paying that to get that slot on the table, you get that amount of vegetables to get that slot on the table. And that's a bonus action everybody must take. And I mean, sometimes you may have like 3 of the tables, like you've got like 3 of the 4 tables, but you're missing the carrots. So in that round, you get carrots, but you pay to get the other tables and you advance up. It's very tricky getting what you need and seeding and harvesting. The first time we played it, just getting the hang of the game, we made it to the 5 tomato table up here, which is not too bad, I suppose, for the first game. You can get all the way up here to 6 carrots. So, I mean, we got up to here. We thought we did pretty good. The second game, and I might add, we tied on that one, and I won on a tiebreaker. The second game we played, because we like this game a lot, Robert got all the way up to 6 cauliflowers, and there I dropped something. Those of you new to the channel will know that I drop stuff and knock stuff off the table, but I have not yet spilled my tea. So Robert got all the way up to here, and I was 1 or 2 behind him because there's an action that you can take where essentially you can trade in 2 of your greenhouses to advance 1 greenhouse or 2 greenhouses to advance 1 or 2 spaces or something like that. And right there in that last round of the game, he did that, and that allowed him to get ahead of me and win the game. But we were almost to the end of the track. So that gives you some idea of the ease of play, the fact that just kind of average board gamers like us on our second game were able to get almost to the end of the track. And that's one thing I'm not sure about in terms of replayability. This game is, I would say, the easiness of this game really comes from it's very easy to teach. Somebody that does not know about worker placement and resource management could learn those mechanics and practice those mechanics. Like if you're not really good at that kind of stuff and you want to like get better at it, start honing your strategic thinking on this, or you want to like level up your playing partner or something. This game, it's very easy to teach. The turns are very simple. The resource management is tricky. So there is a little complexity in that. But even so, we were able to get almost to the end of the track on the second time we played it. So I do kind of have some concern that if someone plays this game very often, they would get good enough at it that it would no longer be a challenge. Now, we have a large game collection. A lot of board gamers have fairly large game collections. We enjoyed this game. I mean, it was kind of thinky, but not like brain-breakingly thinky or frustrating. Okay, a little frustrating at the very beginning because we didn't really know what we were doing, and then suddenly we're going like, oh, yes, and I need to get that because if I did that, I'd get that. Yes, much better. You know, so, but there's always that, oh, you got that spot. That's the spot that I wanted. But it's fun, and it's not too punishing. But I think it's going to be okay for us because this game is probably going to come out once or twice a year, and we'll play 1 or 2 games and we will enjoy it. So I don't think that we're going to look at it. Enough time will have passed that we're not going to be able to just look at it and like immediately remember all the things that we did to optimize play, you know? So I think that this game is going to last for us at least for a little while. But I'm thinking that if you played this game a lot, like played it like a couple of games every weekend for a few weekends, that after a while you would say there's nothing to this game because it's too easy to make it around because you've essentially figured it out. I mentioned special cards, and this is something that could change up gameplay substantially and keep it interesting and for subsequent plays. These cards, I keep turning them over because they're actually double-sided. You can read them either way. Some of the placement slots here will allow you to get a service card. Those are service cards. And so some of the placement spots, they have multiple decks of service cards so that you can choose, and you only choose 3 from each deck. So this is deck E, and so the decks go A through E. So there are 5 different sets of service cards, and you won't put out every service card in the deck. Although I don't know, that might be player number dependent. I don't remember now because this was a few weeks ago that we played it. But they give you like special abilities and powers and allow you to get better benefits. Whenever you discard a greenhouse, you may take 1 mushroom. Let's see. Immediately and once only give 1 of your greenhouses to your opponent, then immediately advance by 1 table. At the start of harvest time, each round, if all the action spaces in any row are unoccupied, you may take 1 lettuce and 1 carrot. So these will change, and they're generally good stuff, though you do have to spend a worker action to get them. just like you have to spend a worker action to get more greenhouses to get more vegetables. So like I said, you're probably not going to have optimal play the first time through unless you're really, really good at board gaming. And a lot of people are. I'm definitely not one of the really, really good ones, though I will say I think I've probably gotten better at it. But the game is pretty simple like that. And I think you could teach resource management, worker placement, things like that to someone doing this. But I wouldn't go for someone who is not familiar with modern board games, because I think it would just be too frustrating and too punishing, perhaps, because it just seems like because like I said, trying to get some of those resources is really tricky. And I think that it might be frustrating for somebody who had not had any experience with modern board games. So that's Reykholt, and that is the lid. Here, I'm looking for the bottom of the box. We liked it a lot. It is a beautiful game. I mean, I like the artwork. Yeah, these should probably go in there. Well, I'll do that later. And I like the little things and the wooden tokens. Carrots. And it stores very easily, though it does not have a table insert. Oh, I took all my little worker people out, and see, these are the things that you move around the tables, which are the score track. Almost lost the bottle. And you turn in your vegetables to advance on that track, and they go back to the general supply. And you can sometimes turn in a greenhouse. If you turn in a greenhouse to advance, you lose everything in the greenhouse unless the greenhouse ended up being empty. So you do kind of want to, and you do sometimes empty out greenhouses as you're putting vegetables in and taking them out. So that's not necessarily a problem. The other thing I played on that weekend is Kickstarter Delivery in Dreams, which is a solo storytelling game. The only quibble I have with this, and this is something you should be aware of, is that it's not actually a game. I would say that it's more like writing prompts or journaling. They talk about it for journaling, because you write down what you do. It's pretty simple. I will put a video below. Michelle and Billy at Second Star to the Left, they did a Kickstarter preview for this, and they did kind of a run through of it. But the thing that's most attracted to about it is it's got gorgeous artwork. It's got beautiful, kind of fantastic, very evocative artwork. Let me see. Now, yeah, I'm holding it up to the screen instead of the camera. Rookie mistake. And here I just celebrated my first channel anniversary, and I'm staring over at the screen, and I'm holding things up to the screen instead of the camera, just like the total noob I used to be. So yeah, and these little things that are written on the bottom are your writing prompts or storytelling things. There is an event deck, and you lay the cards next to each other, and the arrow points to what the card next to it is supposed to do. Like you would lay these. If these were next to each other, then it would be renewal. This arrow would be pointing to renewal. But it's that part of the game is like a Mad Lib. You're filling in the blank. Although they mention that you should pay, that the important part of this game is the journaling and the storytelling, and basically trying to generate some kind of, first you generate a character, and then you generate basically the bare bones or the feeling of a story, the idea behind a story, more the idea behind a story rather than a story itself, which I say that it might be good for writing prompts or just kind of to get the creative juices flowing. And there are event decks here that have different kinds of things on them. It's beautiful, it's evocative. Suppose they say that, you know, the journaling is more important than the rules, and this is in Dreams. And every time I played this, I have not gotten the combination of icons that I need to generate an event for like additional stuff to the story stuff. So I just do it anyway, because as they say in this thing, the rules are less important than the experience that you have with the cards. This is very experiential, very writing oriented, I would say. So, Side Room Games, designer Jamie Thule, Mike Berg. They say 10 plus minutes. Yeah. No, if you really want to like develop the story that you got the idea for, that would of course take longer. But in terms of just laying out the cards, writing down what the cards say, and generating all that, actually I would say maybe 5 minutes to generate the bare bones of stuff. So that was just like first weekend stuff. And then, sorry for the abrupt ending there, but I had to cut this video in two because it went like scary way too long. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this, and then I will put the second half of the video up probably another day later this week. Okay? So it won't be long until I see you round the table again. Bye.